let's start to talk about ultimately the goal of what we're doing when we're going for leg locks, right? You're trying not just to control somebody, you're trying to submit them, right? So what we have here is very good control, but this is not a submission, okay? This here is not something you're gonna submit somebody with, okay? So the next step in like the leg locking game, insofar as like, like getting to the submission, is what we call a leg transfer sequence. Okay, so a leg transfer sequence is anytime I have control of the secondary leg and I transfer from that control of the secondary leg to the application of a submission on the primary leg, okay? And this is one of the hardest things in leg locking. It's really, really hard, okay? As you guys are gonna see throughout my time that I'm here, like we're gonna go over, there's a very, very deep and intricate web of like moves and counter moves in this game, okay? Let's start off by looking at, I think, what is the best fundamental leg transfer sequence from beginner to advanced. It works at like every level. So you guys should be able to do this pretty much tomorrow and you'll still get it on good black belts in like 5-10 years from now, okay? It's what we call an over-under sequence, okay? So I'm here with the basic control, okay? The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this leg, okay, and we're gonna find a way to move it on top of my shoulder, but we're still gonna control it, okay? Right now the problem is, if I go for the heel hook, okay, and I just let go of the leg, we didn't cover this yet, but we will later. There are a lot of ways you can escape by spinning this way, and sometimes even by spinning this way. Yeah, there's different ways you can escape, okay? So we don't want to just, like, you fought hard to get control of this leg. I don't want to just throw it away. Yeah, then he can start escaping really easy. So I want to maintain control of this leg for as long as possible, okay? But to get to the heel hook, the leg's in the way, right? This leg, the secondary leg. So we're gonna find a way to get it on top of our shoulders, okay? The way we do that is like so. Come towards the knee with your chest. I go over the secondary leg and I grip the primary leg, okay? So if you look at my hand here, it's going over, like I'm not past the knee, I'm close to the hip. Does that make sense, guys? Like I'm over here. We want our shoulder to be somewhat in front of the knee, okay? And now my hand of my primary leg, of my left arm is gripping the primary leg. Do you guys see what my left hand is doing? So take your fingers and make sure, so don't do this, but just flatten this leg out so you can see. Don't do this. It should be deep around the shin, like with your fingers curling, okay? So we're here. I come over and I grip, okay? Now my elbow is coming back. Okay, now this right arm comes out and goes underneath. From this point, you grip the knee like so, turn a little bit this way, using this leg to bring you up. Sometimes you can like go out like this way and do it like this. You go here, and then go here, and get this up on your shoulder. Now reach across your shoulders to grab. Don't go here, okay? Because he's gonna escape this leg by rotating the knee out and then pulling the heel over my bicep, okay? I'm gonna prevent that by putting my head against his foot and then gripping my far shoulder. Here, because I'm pushing back on his toes, it's very hard for him to actually rotate the knee. Whereas if I go here, so look, he can move the toes super easy. Why? Because my hand is in the way of my head. I can't do anything to push the toes back, right? It's not tight. This looks, I see this all the time. It's a very common mistake. This looks like it's just as controlling, right? It's not anywhere near. This is very controlling. Now I can lean back, just kind of lean back, putting your head against the foot, okay? It should feel very tense. And I grip my far shoulder, okay? If this was the gi, I would grab the gi, but it's not, so we can't. Actually, I think this is legal, no gi, but yeah. Anyway, so now we have a very good, what we call an over-under position. Over and then under, that's why it's called that, okay? Now to get to the heel hook, it's pretty easy. I'm gonna take my left hand, I reach through, and I take my knee, and I point it towards the ceiling. Reach through, grip the leg, and pull it up into your armpit. Now this hand comes back, and you catch a strong heel hook. Okay? This is not foolproof. There's a lot of defenses to it, right? That's, again, I talked earlier about this moves and counter moves. There's a very deep web of moves here. Okay, but this is a really, really good starting point, and you will still get this against very good people. Okay? You can get it on beginners and advanced people alike. Okay? So again, we start off by controlling the secondary leg. You sometimes can get the heel hook without doing all this stuff, and if you can, that's great, but not on anybody good, okay? By the end of my 2 weeks here, no one should be getting you guys when you're just they're just attacking one leg, okay? When you get good people, you need to go for the secondary leg, okay? For the most part. Now, I'm gonna move into the over-under position, okay? Which is gonna give my elbow access to the heel of the primary leg. Okay, we start like so. Okay, this grip, it's a little subtle. It's a little bit tricky at first, okay? Try to look at my left shoulder, guys. See how it's behind the knee? So when he pulls his knee back, it hits my shoulder. You see that? It's not here. Now he pulls it back, it just goes back, yeah. Here he pulls it back, hits my shoulder, yeah. And I keep the tension by gripping around the shin, and my elbow's coming back. If it's loose here with my fingers kind of straight, it's not tight. Okay, I want it doing this. Okay, so we're here. And you can even, like a little trick you can do actually is, when you're here, if you feel like it's not tight enough, you can grip here and push down and tighten up your left hand and get your shoulder clearly behind the knee. Does this make sense, guys? So you're kind of holding like this. Okay, if you don't have to do this, don't do it, but this is a little trick you can employ. Now, my right hand is gonna go underneath. And once you've got the right hand underneath, the left hand it shallows up to the knee. Okay, now you pull everything up and you grip across, and my head pushes the toes back. Okay, maintaining tension here so that he has a difficult time rotating the knee out. That will give him access to passing the foot over my bicep. Okay, so we make that difficult by leaning our head back into the foot, and I'll also hold the knee, okay? Now from here, I'm gonna point my knee up to the ceiling, reach through his legs, grip the ankle. If I can grab the heel, that's even better. Pull it up, and now my elbow pushes the toes back, and we catch the heel, okay? Does everybody know what catching the heel means? Like, do you guys all know what a heel hook is? So look, the toes are behind my my bicep basically, and the heel is in front of my wrist. Okay, this is really easy. If somebody doesn't understand this, I'll come around and I'll just put you in the position so you know what it is. Okay, when we catch, don't do the submission yet. Okay, eventually we are obviously gonna get to this, but I don't want to see anybody like ripping a heel hook. What belt level are you guys, by the way?
White.
White, mostly white? Okay, yeah, so no one do this. Just catch the heel and stop, okay? All right, make sense, guys? All right, let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 3. All right, guys, so in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch basically a part of a match, pretty old match, that forms the basis of how I think about a pretty big part of how I play cross-ashi, okay? So we're gonna look at John Calasan's usage of an over-under sequence against Mike Davila at EBI from EBI 15, as you can see right here. Okay, so we're not going to look at the entry or anything like that. I just want to focus on how John goes from a control of the secondary leg to a heel hook on the primary leg. Okay, so before we look at how he does it, let's just talk about like the broad concepts behind this. So in cross ashi, it's an inside position based ashigarami, right? So see John's feet are on the inside position of Mike's hips. Generally speaking, if your feet are inside somebody's hips and you don't have control of the secondary leg, it can be pretty hard to control the leg, okay? He can use his hips to move side to side and usually free his knee in some sort of way, right? He can go in either direction. There's different ways to free his knee from the knee line, okay? So what we're usually looking to do is control the secondary leg, usually, at least initially, with an overhook grip like this, okay? If you can bind up their legs like this, in this like, double trouble configuration, right?
it's really, really hard for the guy to escape. Okay, both of your opponent's legs are in front of your chest. Okay, meaning it's super easy to basically grab and control the legs. Okay, I would argue of all of the different leg entanglements available to us, this is probably overall the most controlling in and of itself, just in terms of control. Not even talking about submission, but just talking about control. I think this is the easiest one, right? So diagonal ashi, which is another really strong position, probably more powerful for getting to a submission. It's slightly less controlling because the primary leg is on the outside of the hips. If you guys don't know what that position is, you could look up other videos of mine to see that position. Okay. Anyway, but in the cross ashi, we always have this problem of if we have our arm over the secondary leg, like so, there's not really a good way to get into an inside heel hook here. Okay. So what we're going to look to do is we're going to look to move from a control of the secondary leg to a heel hook on the primary leg with, basically as little space in between those two steps as possible, right? Because I don't want to just haphazardly let go of the guy's leg and let him start to turn out and escape, okay? What I want to do is I want to hold onto this leg up until the point right until I get the heel hook, or even sometimes after I get the heel hook, right? For instance, with a double cross ashi. But that's not what we're going to look at here. We're going to look at a more basic sequence, the over-under sequence, which is, I think this ought to be the sort of the foundation upon which you look to expose the heel in cross ashi, okay? So first, let's just watch John do it, and then we'll break it down. So just focusing on maintaining control for the moment. See, attempt 1 for the heel dig. We'll break that one down in a moment. Then I believe it's the next one in which he's successful in getting to the heel. Should be the next one. Yeah, right here, I think. Yep, here we go. Super nice. Okay, so let's look at first the first initial attempt and then the second attempt where he finally got to the heel hook. Okay, so what John's going to look to do is take this left arm and get under the ankle of the secondary leg so there's a pathway for his arm to go to the heel on the primary leg. Okay, right now that pathway is obstructed by the secondary leg, right? The very thing that's allowing you to restrain the guy is getting in the way of your ability to submit the guy, right? But he doesn't want to just let go of the secondary leg, right? So what he's going to do is essentially get the secondary leg on top of his shoulders, okay? The first way he goes to do that, see how he has this grip here? So he's going to grip at the knee, and then he's going to take this arm and he's going to go underneath. This is an over, right here, this is an over-under sequence. Okay, so he still has control of the secondary leg. Okay, and usually if you can get the heel right here, you can jump right into that. Usually you'll take this arm, you'll go over the ankle and grip your far shoulder. Okay, this is a little less controlling than ultimately the variation that he uses later to actually get to the heel hook. And Mike is able to stick his secondary leg basically back in. This is called the interference problem. Okay, John recognizes it and it goes back to the control of the secondary leg. The second time, where he gets to the heel hook, instead of just gripping at the knee, he's going to grip all the way. Let's see you see the hand here? He grips all the way over the top of the secondary leg, and then he grips the shin of the primary leg. This is much more controlling, but it does take some understanding of how to get your arm over the top here and get this grip properly, right? So you don't want your hand to be shallow on the shin here. You want it to be all the way over the top to essentially the far side of the shin rather than I guess that would be the near side of the shin. The side of the shin closer to your body, okay? From there, you're going to retract your elbow, and this maintains tension on the secondary leg. Now he's going to see how this arm is going underneath. Sometimes you grip your far shoulder here. Here he just opts to like back elbow into the heel, and that's all he needs. Okay, and it's a super nice dig into the inside heel hook. Okay, so this is a basic over under sequence. Okay, it's not always going to work because sometimes people still will be able to hide their heels really well, like point their toes and spin in this direction. But it's a really good first option to go for because let's say John was unable to get the heel here. Is he really sacrificing that much control of the secondary leg? Not really, right? You could just go back to an overhook as he did earlier, right? Like this attempt didn't work because of the interference problem. No big deal. You just go back to control of the secondary leg. It really doesn't matter. That's why this is a good first sequence to go for. Consequences for failing it are pretty low. You can just try the next step in the sequence. Okay, guys. So another example of this sequence. Unfortunately, the camera angle isn't as good on this one, but I still wanted to show it. It is useful to see. It's a match of mine against a Polish guy at trials. So here you see when we start to fall, you can see what's going on. I'm gripping with my right hand at the knee, and I punch this left arm underneath and get to the over-under position, right? Here you see I am gripping my far shoulder the way that I said that you can potentially do. You don't have to. Obviously, there's variations of how to do this, but this would be my preference. You've got two hands still on the secondary leg, so you have a lot of control of the secondary leg. And now we can go back. What I'd like to do here, what my opponent did a good job of making difficult for me, is I want to take, in this case, my right hand and reach through the legs to grab the ankle to feed into the heel hook, but he was holding on to my wrist with both of his hands, making it difficult. So I had to go back with just my arm alone, and then I catch the heel. Okay, this isn't how I get to the heel hook isn't directly related to the over-under sequence, but we'll still look at it. Here, I'm just trying to bring my elbow back in order to get the ball of the heel more cleanly in front of my forearm so that it's harder for him to slip. Here, I've got it pretty good. And now he was pointing his toes really hard trying to slip. So we roll. I'm able to stop him, and I get the tap. Okay, one more time for the over-under sequence because that is the focus of the video. And man, I wish the angle was better, but whatever. We're here. And again, the core of understanding the value of this sequence is that you're not really giving up a lot of control, right? If it doesn't work, you can very easily sequence into other things because you're not letting go of the secondary leg, okay? So yeah, we'll look at this one more time. See how I've got a really good control still of the secondary leg, right? And now his secondary leg is not in the way of my arm's path to his heel. The only thing that would stop me from getting the heel here is him hiding the heel well of the primary leg. I'm able to catch it and then ultimately get to the finish.